On the 12th of August, 1915, 16 officers and 250 men of the 1st 5th Battalion Norfolk Regiment went over the parapet at Gallipoli. The official British report, written by General Sir Ian Hamilton, stated that they charged toward the Turkish village of Kuchuk Anafarta Ova, drove the enemy before them, and then vanished. His exact words, "They were lost to sight and sound." Not one of them ever came back. By August 1915, the Gallipoli campaign was already a disaster. The British and Allied forces had landed on the peninsula 4 months earlier with the aim of seizing the Dardanelles, marching on Istanbul, and knocking the Ottoman Empire out of the war. What they found instead was a heavily defended coastline, impossible terrain, catastrophic planning failures, and an Ottoman army that refused to break. The 1st 5th Norfolks were part of the 54th East Anglian Division. They had arrived at Suvla Bay just 4 days before their final advance. The men included farmers, gamekeepers, and laborers from across Norfolk. On August 12th, they advanced across an open plain in intense heat, under heavy Turkish artillery and sniper fire. Their officers were picked off early. Communications broke down. The battalion pushed forward beyond supporting range of the units on either flank. Then they disappeared from all British observation. The legend that grew around their disappearance is one of the most embellished in British military history. In 1965, 50 years after the event, 3 New Zealand veterans claimed they had witnessed something extraordinary on that day. They said a regiment of British soldiers marched up a sunken road, entered a strange low-lying cloud, and never emerged. When the cloud lifted, the men were gone. This account was published and repeated widely. It eventually attracted claims of alien abduction, supernatural intervention, and deliberate cover-up by the British military. Not one of these claims survives contact with the contemporary evidence. Newspaper accounts from August 1915 describe a conventional military engagement with heavy casualties, not a paranormal event. Eyewitnesses who were present on the day described seeing the battalion advance under fire and sustain losses before pushing beyond visible range. Not a single soldier who was there in 1915 described anything unusual in the sky. The cloud story appeared 50 years later. That is not a witness account. That is a memory constructed around a legend. In 1919, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission searched the Gallipoli battlefield. On September 23rd of that year, the officer commanding the Graves Registration Unit wrote the following in his report. "We have found the 5th Norfolks. There were 180 in all. They were scattered over an area of about 1 square mile at a distance of at least 800 yards behind the Turkish front line. A local Turkish farmer told the investigators that when he returned to his farm after the battle, he found it covered with the decomposing bodies of British soldiers. He threw them into a small ravine. 180 bodies, scattered behind Turkish lines, most unidentifiable. Only 2 were named, Privates Barnaby and Cotter. This is not a vanishing. This is a battalion that advanced too far without support into territory the Ottomans held completely. They were killed in the field and in a farmyard. Their bodies were disposed of by a local farmer, and they lay there for 4 years while their families were told only that they had been lost to sight and sound. So where is the cold case? Not in the disappearance. That part has been answered. They died advancing beyond their support line into a heavily defended position. The Ottoman forces killed them. Their remains were recovered in 1919. The cold case is in Hamilton's dispatch. His official report described the battalion as driving the enemy before them, actively winning ground, before they vanished. The Turkish archives, researched by historian Steve Smith in the most thorough investigation of this engagement ever conducted, tell a different story. The Ottoman records show the British advance was stopped and repelled. The battalion was not driving the enemy before them. They were walking into a killing zone with no flanking support, officers already dead, and no one on either side watching what happened to them. Hamilton's dispatch described a heroic advance. The evidence describes a catastrophic command failure. Men sent forward without support, beyond communication range, into ground the Ottomans controlled completely. The question that remains open is not what happened to 250 men in a field in Gallipoli. It is why the official account of their deaths was written the way it was, and whether the families who waited 4 years for news deserved a more honest answer than lost to sight and sound. 2 of the 180 were identified. 178 were not. Their names are on the Hellas Memorial at Gallipoli, among 21,000 others with no known grave. What's your read on Hamilton's dispatch? Cover-up? Incompetence? Or the fog of war? Tell me in the comments.